Hi, I'm Cynthia Marks, and I head up the Holistic Psychoanalysis Foundation established by my late husband, Dr. Bernard Bale. Welcome to And Now Love. Brother and sister, Denver and Dylan Humphrey, have been kind enough to break from their busy schedules as co-founders of their nonprofit organization named Fourddo in order to spend some time with us today. Denver is in Orlando and Dylan is in Boston. Their mission is to amplify the voices of today's youth and address pressing issues that affect them. It's an awesome goal, and they are coming at it from all kinds of directions. So let's hear what they have to say. Welcome.
Hi, Cynthia. Hi, everybody.
Thank you so much for having us.
So happy you're here. And I know that what you're doing is fabulous, and I really want our audience to hear more about it. And I think it's so important, and it's not unusual for me to think this, that people your age have a voice that's heard, and what is being said or thought about is super important. After all, we were all once your age, if we're not your age now. So it's important for people my age to think back on how strongly we felt about things and what disturbed us and what we were afraid of, and think about whether or not we felt like we had a voice. And it's important for us to respect that in everyone. And we're here to help you talk about your audience. So, what is Fourddo?
Well, Fourddo is our nonprofit platform that Denver and I started, 6 years ago? This is year number 6. And it started off as like just us kind of working with different initiatives and things that we were passionate about. And now it's turned kind of like a nonprofit hub for young people to help amplify and accelerate them even further.
Fourddo is a great organization that was started in 2019. We were like wee little babies, and now we're a bit older little babies, but we're kind of going to college and in high school and doing other things now. So it's exciting, but Fourddo has grown with us.
It's pretty amazing that somewhere in there you found this motivation, or you understood that there was this great need. How did you come to that motivation, or what did you see happening where you thought, wait a minute, this community isn't being heard, or we feel like our peers are stifled or are afraid to speak or don't have the opportunity? I mean, I know you've been in situations as intimate as family dinners, and you've taken care to show us, how important it is to communicate even in that sort of close-knit situation. What motivated you to get here?
I'd say that that motivation, or I don't know, that feeling kind of finds you, if anything. And I think it's being in these spaces and meeting different people, and you're like, there's like a little gap that you can like fill, and like the work that you do that just comes so innate to you. You just realize if you keep doing it and you work with people that you trust and talk to young people and be in their spaces and really meet them where they're at, you find out that that's a big part of the work itself. You start doing it inherently.
And I also think it's like we started. I mean, we had the opportunity to perform on this really large stage together, and from there we kind of grew like a social platform and all of that, and started advocating for causes and all of that. But Dylan and I also know the importance of raising awareness. We thought, what? How about we use that on our own platform and use that for good? So we had a small little platform. So we thought, how about we use it? So yeah, and I feel like that kind of came about to be Fourddo, and from there we were like, yeah, I think it's a nonprofit, but also it's a hub for young people where they can share their stories, we can share ours, and it's just an overall social good platform.
So you say you started this, you were on a stage, and you two speaking to an audience about something specific, or were you part of a larger group and you were just noticing that the audience had questions or a curiosity that made you think, huh, there's something here?
Well, we grew up homeschooled, and a big part of that is that, like, we didn't really have social media, and then we kinda created a joint social media account. Like, we would post we played tennis, we sang, we swam, we did all the things, and we're like, "This is gonna be our little account where we can, like, show off the things that we're doing each day, and if we can just talk about or hopefully inspire a young person who's watching," that was really our only goal. And then as we grew and our platform expanded, we started getting interest from different brands, organizations, we started doing different performances. We're just like, "How can we make this connected with the cause?" Something that's important. I mean, from there, Fourddo was born, realizing that this platform could turn into an actual like agent for change. And Denver and I could just, help facilitate that and also amplify it further.
So your first recognition then came from your social media presence, and you guys didn't really know that much about social media firsthand because you weren't paying attention to it at home, right? And then you just started posting about yourselves and it just kind of took off. Like, here are two regular people doing regular things.
Kinda. We were just always young kids doing different things. And then we were like, this is a way that we can meet people, also show our story a bit more, and almost like crack open the window a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think from a young age, Jill and I have both been like big storytellers, and that's kind of been kind of how 40 has kind of evolved. Like it used to kind of be like Dylan and I, but it has like evolved over time to be like this social platform for other young people to share their stories and to connect.
It's crazy at that age. And that it caught on and that brands started to come to you. Like, you guys have something to say.
We made like Lego movies, and we were very communicative, knew the importance of communicating. And then as we got into the arts and tried out different spaces, we were like, oh, we can kind of move very freely through this. And we hope young people know that they can also do that.
We also know that it's important that we want to share a story because why not? And I think that's just an important thing that we've realized. So yeah, but we're figuring out. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the cool things about what you're doing is that I think you guys are coming to social media from a place of authenticity and honesty and joy and concern and helpfulness. And that needs a bigger presence on social media. So that you're doing that and you have an audience is fantastic.
Absolutely. And when you do different things and you're in different spaces, you're constantly performing or doing something, right? And so social media becomes a tool you can utilize to further your work even more.
And when your audience or the people that you choose to serve are engaging with 40 what are they doing? What is the process? How are they benefiting from their engagement with you?
Yeah, honestly, a big part that I've seen is just staying in touch. Like Denver and I know this summer there was like we were just having Zoom calls every day. Like kids from Montana, kids from Florida, kids from Alabama, adults from Florida, like you name it, we were just talking about the work that we're doing and how important it is for it to just be interconnected and to just stay connected.
So an individual in Wisconsin makes an appointment to talk with you and you set up a time. And why is he wanting to talk to you? Is he looking for help in terms of, I'm really interested in painting, but I don't know where to go with that? Or is it more a conversation about, I'm scared or I'm unhappy or I don't know how to help myself?
I've noticed that it's often a mix of those conversations, right? And Denver, our goal is not to specify, right? I think that's the whole point. Like we can pivot between different spaces and different conversations because all of these issues impact young people. And stuff.
I also would love to add, I think it's like people just love to check in and like we love to check in. So, like, scheduling a call or like DMing us, like we don't I think it's so needed to love on each other and check in on each other. Like the whole point is that I see you. I see you. And I think it's so important. I think Dylan and I really prioritize that with 40 Do. Like just because, we were part of this event that we had in New York doesn't mean that you can never like reach out to us. Like we want to stay connected with you. You're part of 40 Do, for forever.
So then you might have the ability to help somebody in Boise find an outlet in Boise that they can become part of. Is that right?
Absolutely. And then always keeping that line open, right? I've had the 9 p.m. text be like, "Hey, Dylan, can I hop on a call?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's chat." I'm just leaving the dining hall, so we walk. I'm walking, and we can just have a conversation about its life stuff, its future stuff. And also just it's an additional, oh, are you okay, right?
Also, I think a lot of it's like resource allocation and kind of figuring out, if you want to be involved with this organization, we've probably worked with them. So, we'll put you in touch. I mean, I've done that easily dozens, a lot of times of just like young people reaching out. I have this project, I have this initiative. Period. We'll highlight you on our socials, but we'll also give you, some tools and resources that may also benefit you.
So a lot of individuals have discovered that you're a great resource. I'm struggling with something. I don't know where to get this information. I don't know how to get involved. I shouldn't get involved. I'm too shy.
I think young people right now, we hear a lot like they got it. Like young people have it figured out. But you're giving us access to rooms that we didn't build. So we're not sure, like, okay, this table, thank you for the access, but what do I do next, right? And so helping them understand how to move forward and not feel alone in that process, that's a big part of it.
Love all that Dylan just said. Yeah, not feel alone in that process because we've had a lot of times at Fourddo or just Dylan and I have had to kind of figure out how to move forward, but like alone or by ourselves. And, maybe, having this thing to do or having this initiative and you just don't know how to like progress. So I feel like at Fourddo, a lot of times people bounce off ideas or just come to us with something. And like, I feel like it's always difficult because you have to almost I think as people, we feel like we have to lead in silence or kind of lead alone. And you don't have to. I think it's important to know you have community and that you can do it together.
I don't know how you're going to keep up with this though. How do you manage your own lives when you must be getting contacted constantly?
Well, one thing I've noticed is that there's never too much connection, right? And you can also balance that, right? Like you be very real and upfront with like what your plate can handle. And oftentimes I've had a connection be like, hey, you know what? There's this other connection that actually lives in the same state as you, like a few blocks away from you. Like I kind of built that bridge, right? And then after that, I'm just like, okay, I'm back up. Now as I'm talking with each of them separately, I'm like, okay, y'all are building something really exciting. And to kind of see that from afar and be like, I love the joy that's come from this moment.
You're building bridges, you're setting up means of communication with other individuals, connecting them and giving them a place to express themselves.
That's one of the big goals. And another one is how can we use our platform to highlight these important initiatives, right? So we design these campaigns that are talking about, childhood hunger, racial inequity, arts, like an expression. Like we're using our platform as like, here's what's going on right now, and here's how you can engage and feel involved in the movement.
So that was one of the big major things that we worked on this year specifically was a campaign called Days of Mindfulness, which took us around several states nationwide to spread mindfulness and spread joy and talk about mental health and well-being for youth. And
That's so great. So, for example, this event that took place in New York, a mindfulness event, what was that? What was that like?
So a big part of that event was like, let's just stop for a second, right? Let's stop all the noise, all the chaos of life and stress, and let's just gather like physically in a space, and let's just see what we can get up to. And so we had some young people. We had like expressive dance. We had sound bowls. It's like we just had a lot of movement and a lot of play, like a lot of physical. And we had young people who were just done with their exams, thinking about college. They were very stressed out and they're like, oh, I like needed this moment to just reset, right? And not only reset, but see that other people needed to reset as well. Like there's just a communal need for peace. Fostering spaces that are made just for that is a big part of our work.
Do you feel like a lot of individuals feel just like that? Individuals, in a way, nobody but me is going through this, whatever this is?
I feel like we all feel like we're on like this journey by ourselves. And I think it feels like you're the only person in the boat and like nobody else is in the boat with you. And we kind of just wanted to open up that space because like I know I saw some kids walking and that it was just present and they became present. And I think that's so wonderful to see that, we all were connecting with each other and just dancing and having a good time. And it just makes me emotional thinking about it. At 40 we want to make sure you youth know that you're not alone.
We have kind of asked ourselves, like, where are the safe spaces for young people, right? Like, where are spaces that are not challenging them, like not just allowing you to come in, be you, and just exist, right? And every space that we have in the society is set to challenge how we function. and make it difficult and stress the little things, right? And so how can us, Denver and I, Fourddo do in our work, like facilitate spaces to like prevent isolation?
I feel like, and you know more about this than I do because you're your age and I'm my age, that it's hard for a lot of younger people to have a voice that's heard. That home life, whatever that is, puts them in a place where they do have to operate from a place of isolation for whatever reason. And we come to think that that is how everyone is, and that is how we're supposed to be, and that it's probably not okay to step outside and ask for help. And maybe it's not okay to have a voice because everybody's so busy they don't have time to hear you.
There's just a lot of how can we give young people what they need without asking what they need, and about listening to what they might want.
I also think we live in a world where a lot of people lead by assumption and kind of don't really yet, as Dylan was saying, ask what young people need or kind of assume what young people need. And I think that as young people, we're aware of what other young people want, but we also know it's important to ask what do other young people maybe in rural or suburban or just like different communities need. We want to make sure that we're listening to all voices, especially the underrepresented voices as well. Our whole mission statement is we don't subscribe to being niche, but we also want to make sure that we're aware of what's going on, because if you don't have awareness, then none of this really matters.
And when you say you don't subscribe to being niche, again, because I'm not your age, what does that mean in the social media world?
You can move freely. You can move freely. Like you mentioned a little earlier, like whether it's in civic education or mental health or racial inequity, or whether you're in Boston or Florida or California, like you have a say, right? You can be in any of these spaces. If you're a young kid in middle school, you can talk about how you're not feeling too well and how you wish you could, speak to a therapist or find a mental health provider, right? That's mental health. If you feel uncomfortable with what's going on civically in your environment, that's civic education, right? So you can talk and move freely throughout each of these spaces and not feel like you have to choose one to kind of hunker down in.
And also, like, you can do a national tour, then also make a documentary. So it's like you don't kind of have to stay in your one lane of doing things, and that you can kind of make impact in various ways.
Yeah, that makes sense. In my world, it's like being a general contractor. You know lots of different areas and you have some expertise in each and they're all important to the whole. It's nice for all of us to have a respect for civic education and mental health and wellness. So it's, I think that you're allowing or helping individuals understand that all of that is important and worthy is awesome. And to do something which I think is unusual in that I don't think a lot of us have time for it anymore, to truly listen so the person on the other side feels truly heard. That is hard to come by. So, what do you do with your future in this organization of yours that's growing and taking up more of your time and doing more and more fabulous things? What's coming next?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many amazing things on the horizon for 40 We have like a lot of core programming that's coming up and just innovative ideas. And coming in 2026, we have like exciting couple projects called Four Stories, which is socially conscious PSAs, and a couple of other, great works like the theme for 2026 is like Days of Discovery, which is kind of restorative retreats for young people. We have a lot of things, a lot of cool partnerships in the works, and just excited for young people to just be engaged and involved and really reach a lot more communities.
So I love that you've come up with this restorative retreat. It sounds really great, and I'm curious to know how that works. You can't be at all of these events you're creating. Do you set something up in given communities and figure out how people can access that?
Yeah, to answer a big part of wellness and finding yourself and expression and self discovery, honestly, is expanding your worldview, right? I think we all have that moment in like the 16 to like 20 age group where you just have a week or like a few days of just like that just kind of change how you see things, and kind of change your outlook. And so, how can 40 do provide that and support young people and potentially like providing a connective opportunity that enlightens and also like can just widen your eyes a bit more. And I also think like, especially for those in those rural communities, those who, like you mentioned, Idaho, like Montana, North Dakota, like spaces that might not feel like they have access to things like this. How can we like go directly to them and be like, we want you in this space with other young people connecting and creating things?
Yeah. But you can't be present at all of these retreats. You're developing them in communities.
Yeah, I think for Dylan and I, we're very busy people. I think we're gonna make the time if we can, but I think we also know that putting it in the hands of local communities and developing the framework and also making sure we don't want to invade. That's a big thing.
Yeah, like you want to be able to contribute to the spaces that you're entering. So like, okay, you bring these young people together. What project will they make together in that space that comments on what's going on right now? And so I think a big part of this is we might not be there physically, but we will be there in spirit. I think a big part of the vibe, as young people say, is just the vibe, and we want to make sure that Fourddo has that vibe that I think comes from our sibling relationship, growing up being conscious of one another. And so, how can we instill that into a physical space for young people?
That's, I think, so well said. I feel like a lot of what happens that's great in life, the experiences where we're learning or growing, truly come from having a feeling where you say, that's it. I need to work from this feeling to create what it is that feels good. What about this feeling do I want to really take out with me, to bring into the world? This is a good thing. This is something I want to work with. And that I have this unique relationship, the two of you, where you, as a team, you can work really well, so much better than a lot of us can. So thank you for that. That's unbelievable. And I do think that because of that connection, because of that feeling you have, you can see it when others come to it and not invade their space, but help them go with it. Like, yeah, you got this. You're onto something.
Absolutely, and just like to touch on that, when you grow up so close with a sister, and there's a 4-year age gap, we just did everything together. Really, like I will always approach things with my own approach and then be conscious of hers, right? And so I think we just need more of that, more convergent thinking, like thinking about someone else's perspective about something else, or just being mindful of the other perspectives in the room and how we should seek those out because at the end of the day, it just makes it so much more fruitful.
Yeah, I also think you really realize how much siblingness is rooted in the foundation of 40 do. Like it's just always thinking about the other person and kind of having that like two person or just more people mindset, not just yourself. And I think it's just but I think it's really rooted in 40 do. And I really love that. So I'm just excited for us to take that into 2026 and other, community, rooted aspects so that we can really touch on, a lot of different things.
Well, I think what you're doing is really, really fresh and new and such a positive way to use social media, and that you can use social media to kind of get to the grassroots of things that people can't get to on their own sort of without social media. But you're opening a window for them and saying, no, you don't have to look at this from afar. You can take part. These things that you're seeing are things that you can actually have, I promise. I think that's a beautiful thing because I think a lot of us just sit back in our chair and hold space between you and me, let's say.
Yeah, if we're not giving young people the reins, right? Like if you're not giving young people the reins, there's just a feeling of helplessness will come there, right? Watching life and society and our times move and circulate around you. If you're not giving them a say or at least a space for them to say what they feel, there's just so much untapped potential there.
Oh, I know. And now more than ever, of course, we're going to say that 35 years from now, and now more than ever. But as the world changes and grows, and all of that is happening more rapidly, we have little space for, our youngsters and little space for new ideas. And the youth is going to carry us on in the future. And man, we've got to listen to those ideas, those thoughts, those questions. There are so many important things all of us can learn from each other, no matter our age. And there's no dismissing it, no dismissing it. And I feel like there's a lot of that going on, and it's not okay.
Yeah. No, I want to add because I think that's so important because I think yes, Fourddo is kind of founded and led by youth, but I think there's also this amazing intergenerational aspect to us that I don't think that should ever be lost. Like I think listening to older perspectives and different like older generations and even younger generations, I think having the intergenerational perspective and yes, we're led by youth, but we also have, advisors who advise and mentors who mentor. And all else to say is I just love what you said because I think it's important to know that just because we're Gen Z doesn't mean like we know everything about Gen Z. Like it's okay to listen to other perspectives and be aware of those perspectives as well.
That goes for the world at large. It's youth listening to their elders and the other way around, and Republicans listening to Democrats and the other way around, and really hearing each other and finding a place to respect one another and grow as communities. You guys are just so cool together. What was happening at home where you were able to develop this relationship where you really respect each other and listen to each other? Were you always like this?
I think I was 4 years older, and I remember, Denver's arrival, and I was just like, I don't like. You're four, right? I don't know what I'm gonna do next, but boy, isn't it so much more fun when you're doing it with somebody else? And so, any way that I could include or just be there, but also realize that like there are times where I can't just lead. Like Denver has led me before too. There are going to be times where you're confused, you're struggling, and so just being very wary of one another, right? And also how fluid we are as people. Like we're made out of water. Like we're supposed to be fluid. We're supposed to move and change and adapt. And so being mindful of that in our relationship and just allowing us to just kind of be circular with one another, and not define or identify or term, what it has to be or who we are becoming. I think we just gave each other that much grace growing up and continue to do so even more nowadays.
Well, I think we love to hold space for each other, even through, thick and thin, and just like, and that's not to say that we don't have, our battles, but I definitely think that like it's important to listen to each other. And
Well, and you mentioned that fluidity, which is so true. And I mean, relationships are dynamic. They're always becoming this or that and going back to the other. And so to, as you say, hold space or take a deep breath and continue to love, which that's how we all came together in the first place, was we were talking about love. And we all need to start from a place of love and really understand what that is. And I think a lot of us have an idea of what we think love should be, and some of us pretend to love. And it's a treasure to really feel love, or feel like you can love, be love, or love. You two, I think, are giving people a place to really know that feeling and spark it enough where it's one of those things where you think, wait a minute, that felt so good. I want more of that. How can I get there? So that's so great. I mean, you're just opening little doors and big doors for a lot of people who don't have a lot of good sources, and to be able to show them that there are good sources that they can get to. So thank you very much.
that was worded fabulously. It was almost like gospel. It was really, really no, I was just like, oh.
Aw, well, thanks.
It's a box. Like, all these relationships are like they're boxes, but you also have a choice in like how big they are or how close or how small they are, or like what it can feel and look like. And so I couldn't ask for a better teammate in all this.
We're cool. No. I just love the whole theme of love and how it just like it's a foundation for a lot of things, like empathy and love. That's a big thing about. I just love love, so I think it's just really important. And I love this podcast, and yeah.
Thank you. So we're on the same wavelength, that's for sure. So where do people find you if somebody's now so curious, and I'm sure plenty of us are?
Yeah, you could check us out on Instagram at Fourddo, Fourddo. You could also, hit up me in Denver on LinkedIn or in the DMs, or, find us. You can never have too much connection. And so feel free, the door's open, the window's open.
Also, if you're a brand or organization who wants to work with Fourddo, we love to collaborate. That's kind of what we didn't mention in this interview, but collaboration is at the root of our organization. So yeah, just hit us up and go to our website.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you both so much. Continue on with the fabulous stuff you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's you as well.
Thank you for listening. Come back and pay attention to these guys. Watch them. They're doing great things and it's always evolving. Bye for now.